Joining us now to discuss the crypto markets is Glen Goodman. He's a crypto consultant at Israel-based crypto exchange eToro. Glen, welcome to the show. So we are seeing a bit of a growth spurt in the crypto markets, shall we say. How long do you think this relief rally will last?
Yeah, I mean, you've caught me in a very good mood. I've pretty much been in a good mood all week because over at eToro on the crypto webinar that we do weekly, we've been talking about this rally for several weeks now and sort of anticipating it. And there are a number of reasons for that. And it's very kind of contrary to all the doom and gloom that we've just heard from Antonio there at the IMF. The thing is that when the IMF brings out its report, it tries to be a little bit forward-looking, but like all big bureaucracies, monetary bureaucracies, central banks and so on, they tend to be more backward-looking than forward-looking. So actually the markets themselves, and this goes for the stock markets as well as the crypto markets, they priced in inflation ages ago. They priced in recession, you know, a while ago. So already in the coming weeks, the market was starting to bottom out. All of the bad news that anybody could possibly dream of had already been priced in, and they were starting to think about moving upwards. Key signals that I was looking out for, because I, in my personal capacity, trade not just cryptos, but also stocks, commodities, treasuries, everything. Because I keep my eye on all the different prices, I noticed many weeks ago that prices of key commodities were starting to fall, and fall heavily. So we're talking about copper in particular, sometimes called Dr. Copper, because in sort of by Wall Street types, because it's seen as a kind of predictor of what's going to happen in the economy at large. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But the point is, copper is used in so many industrial processes that what tends to happen to the copper price tends to reflect the wider economy. And so, of course, we had that huge spike in copper prices, which contributed to the inflation that we're now seeing throughout the developed world. But then the copper price started coming down some weeks ago. And then the oil price started coming down as well. And actually, there's been a tweet from Elon Musk today. I'll just read it out to you. He said, inflation might be trending down. More Tesla commodity prices are trending down than trending up, for what it's worth. So, you know, he's been quite cautious in a way, because he's taken weeks to come out with that statement. Commodity prices, agricultural commodities as well, have been falling for weeks and weeks now. Wheat, corn, they've all come down a lot. Copper is down by 1/3 from its peak. Oil is down by 1/4 from its peak. So what I'm saying here is that we spotted a while ago that inflationary pressure would probably start to get less. Now, that hasn't yet obviously come through in the official inflation figures in the United States, because again, they're kind of backward looking. They work on a lag somewhat. But I think the reason markets are recovering, several different factors, but the main one is what I'm talking about. The main one is that the markets have realized that inflation has probably hit a peak and is probably going to come down, possibly quite sharply, because of those falls in commodity prices. So because the Fed isn't going to make an interest rate decision now until September, that means things could look very different by then. And the market is starting to think there's a possibility that we won't see any more interest rate rises in the States.
Fascinating analysis, Glen. I wonder about your thoughts on this morning's PCE numbers. So U.S. inflation surging again, staying at that 40-year high, and reversing slight declines that we saw in May, but the inflation index for June is slightly more up than what was expected.
Again, I'm not too worried, because these figures are to some extent backward looking, and I'm always trying to look forward, as all investors and traders do. We try to take hazard a guess about what's going to happen in the future. So figures that come out now don't concern me too much, because they reflect what was going on in the real economy a month ago, 2 months ago, sometimes even 3 months ago, when you're looking at, say, the GDP figures like the ones that came out yesterday, that were obviously pretty gloomy. I would say that what the markets are doing now is pricing in falling inflation and a mild recession. Okay, everybody's pretty much accepted, or most people have pretty much accepted, that the US is in a recession. Whatever they say the official definition is, oh, it's not a proper recession or whatever, eggs are eggs. We all know what we're looking at here. And the fact is that the United States has seen, negative quarters and is looking pretty weak. And according to a recent survey by The Economist, 60% of Americans now already believe that they're in recession anyway. You've also got serious inventory problems. Walmart, for example, said that it's actually going to bring down its prices because it's got so much spare capacity, so much inventory that it hasn't managed to sell yet. So that's another sign of a weakening economy. So as I say, I think the reason the market is recovering, and this goes for the crypto market, obviously, because it tends to follow NASDAQ pretty closely these days. The reason these markets are recovering is because mild recession and falling inflation has been priced in. What nobody is quite contemplating yet is the possibility of a much more serious recession. And we heard Antonio there from the IMF talking about some pretty worrying signs on the horizon. It's anybody's guess whether the hard landing will come to fruition yet. Frankly, even the IMF don't really know. Nobody really knows. All we can do is look at the different signs. Over the course of the summer, things will hopefully become a fair bit clearer. And if there are strong signs of a serious recession, then undoubtedly the markets are going to fall further. Of course they are. But if the signs stay relatively mild and inflationary pressures are dropping as well, then that could be the Goldilocks moment, the perfect combination that the markets are looking for in order to continue rising.